What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Brock.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Brock. And we are on episode number 24.
6 months of doing this.
Yeah, isn't that great? And tonight we're talking about Solaris, the God of Light, and Darkos, the Head Assassin.
Yeah, hold on to your horses. We're gonna have so many stories about these guys.
Oh yeah, look at these dudes. Oh, wait, there we are. Oops, I just showed Darkos twice. There we go. So yeah, you got Santa Claus and Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Ready to hang out in your GWF Fed.
And our topic is booking styles.
Mm-hmm.
Which types do you use, and how do you put them through?
Okay.
How do you book?
Sounds good to me.
There's many different styles that people use.
Mm-hmm. Mine's ever changing, but we'll talk about that later on. So
anything interesting happening on your end?
No, just business as usual. It's kind of nice here. We're in the 60s now, but by the time this airs, we'll probably be in, summer. But yeah, it's been all right here. How about you?
Well, as some people know, my daughter graduated university, got her degree. Well, degrees.
Cool. Congratulations to her.
So she's a teacher, but she can now teach history in English and French.
Cool.
So it's kind of a big deal up here when you can teach a subject in multiple languages.
Yeah, it makes you very marketable.
And then she's going for a third language, so she's got to get yet another degree, but that'll be German.
Okay.
So I feel like the moron in my household because my wife has like 4 university degrees. My daughter's working on her third. I'm like, I went to college.
Yeah.
Sure, I went to college for chemical engineering, but I went to college.
Yeah, right. I hear you. I feel like that sometimes at my house too. I have an associate degree. My wife has a master's degree. But it's all good.
My daughter's fiance has a master's degree in biomedical mechanical engineering.
My niece has one of those.
He makes robotic prosthetics.
Cool.
And I'm like, yep, I'm a dummy.
Yeah.
What do you do? I played a lot of games.
I just never cared about school. That was my problem. But hey, I'm doing all right, I guess. I don't hate my job all the time.
Well, I can drive a forklift so good.
I won't say what I do for a living on here because it can cause some problems.
Yep.
I already had to drop the hourly rate on some family members. But that's a whole other topic for another time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into let's start off with Solaris.
Alrighty. He was brought in to be the manager of the Norse gods at first, or were they the supreme gods by now?
They were the supreme gods.
So I thought, okay. And here's something you'll notice about these cards. Back in the day, the manager cards had nothing on the back.
Yep.
Just a distractor rating listed on the front. And that's all you really needed back then because they didn't have individual interference charts.
Yeah. So for me, because the outside interference chart was absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, and I know this happened to more than a few people, when you rolled outside interference and you rolled like 11 or 12, the manager dove off the top turnbuckle with a flying elbow smash to the back of your opponent's head, injuring them for 1 card.
Uh-huh.
And so I just couldn't picture, 70-year-old Solaris diving off of the Randy Macho Man elbow savage.
But he is a supreme being, though. He is a legitimate god, right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't blowing smoke. So I could buy it. It's funny you mentioned that because on his new card, in his reimagined card, which I happen to have here, if you roll a 12 on his interference chart, the villain's actions are so vile that Solaris takes matters into his own hands. The referee and fans watch in stunned disbelief as Solaris climbs to the top turnbuckle and hits the opponent with a Solaris flying elbow drop. Finisher. Disqualification rating 4. If there is no disqualification, the opponent rolls their pin. So now it is officially a part of his card. There's no injury, though. I dug this out just for you.
Yeah, that's why my managers back then, if they didn't have any training,
Mm-hmm.
I never rolled outside interference on them. So they just got the 2 DQs.
When did they officially introduce the manager interference card? That was pretty late in the game, wasn't it? Like the 2100s, I think.
No, it was with this, because the first managers were from this set.
But I'm talking about the manager interference chart. Like, you know how they had the outside interference chart and the manager interference chart? Did that come much later? I don't remember.
It did. It came out later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when. It was a separate chart.
But I kind of feel like that rule was put on this card just for you.
Yeah.
Because you've talked about that for years.
There was someone else that did that too. It was just so ridiculous. And I'm just trying to picture this 90-year-old man going, boom.
Hey, he's good at it. He's a spiritual mentor and manager of the supreme gods. Like,
yeah,
he's no joke. Yeah, I just thought I wanted to share that with you here on the show. But I like this artwork so much better, by the way.
Yeah. I never did like the first one.
Yeah, it's his bangs. I'm not a fan of the bangs. Yeah, he looks more like a celestial being kind of in the way he's drawn here.
Yeah, well, plus he's got that, the glow.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Let me pull up how they colored his original card here. I had
him white beard, white robes with gold trim. That's how I painted them and colored them, because I used to paint I used to blow them up on photocopy and then paint them with
That's cool.
watercolor.
Let me. There he is there. Looks like Moses there.
Yep.
But yeah, didn't really get into him a whole lot. Couldn't really get into him.
I kept him around for a couple of years. I just.
Mm-hmm. He's an interesting. I think he was the only one that he wasn't either too small to be a wrestler or a former wrestler. He was just a dude that was friends with those guys, I guess, or sorry, spiritual mentor.
Yeah, I don't even know his background. He just appeared.
Mm-hmm.
I've never even bothered to look it up in the book.
Let me see. There's not much about him here on his wiki page. Let's skim it real quick to see if it says anything.
No, he did manage to get some gold for his guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just through distractor ratings. Because even 2 extra pin attempts help.
Yeah.
So he managed to get the IG tag titles twice. And that would have been Lance Atlas and Octagon. Or it might have been the Greek gods once, and then Lance Atlas and Octagon once.
Okay.
The GWF TV title, that was Lance Atlas. And 3 lightweight titles, and that was all Lightning.
Cool. Successful manager run then.
Yeah.
Considering he didn't manage a whole lot of guys.
Yeah, and not enough to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Right. But
I had him at 5'7" and 130 pounds. I had him as a frail old man.
Yeah, they don't have anything listed here. But in interesting trivia, he was appointed the leader of Kronos. Because he knows not to abuse time travel. So there you go.
Yeah, that's not being abused at all in Kronos.
No. True.
Yeah, he retired. When did he come in? 2089?
Yes.
And he retired it for me in 2094. So 5 years. I had him as
Okay. Officially, he hung around until 2094.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, he managed the Champions of the Galaxy after the Supreme Gods.
No, he managed the Supreme Gods, and then when the Norse gods became frenzy or whatever, he still kept with Lance, Octagon, and Proteus.
Okay. I always forget that Lance was in that group for a little while.
Yeah.
Lance Atlas. Or Lance Atlas.
Yeah. There's only so much we can talk about a immortal manager who was doing flying elbow drops onto people.
Yep, that's not on his new card, his reimagined card. I love it.
That is funny though.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really nothing on Darkos out of the ordinary, but I have it here. I'm looking at it again. It's just your standard manager interference chart.
I remember I colored him. His suit was gray and green.
So straight up Dr. Doom then.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got a red and green, or red and gray motif here on his reimagined card. Let me share
so
my.
he's right out of the Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Let's see. Where is he here? What's he look like? I didn't pull him up yet. No, he actually looks kind of. It's an all like it's almost monochromatic look on him here. Let me pull this up. Looks pretty good. I like that. Simple yet cool looking, you know?
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I had the robes, like kind of a gray, not the silver. I mean, his armor was the gray, but the robes were olive colored.
Cool.
So not as Doctor Doom, but
Yeah.
Doctor Doom adjacent.
There you go. Inspired.
Yep.
I always liked Darkos. The Masked Assassins were my favorite villain team.
Oh, they're still one of my favorite. They're in my NGA.
Okay.
So they haven't cracked the Splatter. He's up in the GWF.
Mm-hmm.
But Darkos. Actually, I didn't dig out his wrestler card.
Oh, cool.
Oh no, because I didn't dig out the wrestler card because we're just talking manager. So that's
right.
But as a manager, he's done quite well for himself. Like when it was just when I just had the one big Fed.
Mm-hmm.
So he captured he managed GWF TV title 1 time, Intergalaxian tag 3 times, GWF lightweight 3 times, GWF tag once, Galaxian 4 times. So that was kind of my lightweight. So it was 7 Galaxian titles.
Wow.
And just recently, an NGA heavyweight title.
Cool.
That was the British Bomber.
Nice.
So any wrestler he has still has to be masked.
Mm-hmm.
So I used the NGO wrestler, the British Bomber, and he was with him, but he got enough points where he moved up.
That's cool.
So he's in the GWF now.
Very cool. That's a really good card if anybody hasn't seen it before.
He's done, and yeah, as a manager, I liked him. He was a good foil to Trainer Jim.
Mm-hmm. I just wish he had wrestling stats then, so you could put him in the ring with him.
Yeah,
that would have made more sense than not.
Let's see,
There's
that's the British Bomber card.
Very cool. Always
Very
love that card.
Very solid wrestler.
Mm-hmm. I still say those guys need to colorize those cards. I haven't bugged Chad about that in a couple weeks. I'll have to get on his case again.
Find somebody to colorize them.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Or just get all new art. Why not go all in on it?
Yeah.
How many characters are there in the NGO sets? About 50 probably total.
Yeah, close to it.
Just get started on it now.
Ask Randy, hey, do you want to redo them?
Only on that what's that method he posted about the other day?
Oh, that the
scratch board.
Yeah, the scratch board.
He should do them all in that.
I don't know if you can call that up. You should show that.
I'll see if I can find it real quick while you're talking.
That was so if any of your regular people are, Randy Bugdale's a friend of mine. He's done art for the game. He's done a few wrestlers like actually I think I have one sitting around here. Trying to find him. I had Necros, and now I can't find it. And I just had it 30 seconds ago.
Necros, Bust Up, Hunger and Serpentine.
Tom did this one probably because Necros is one of my favorite wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had Randy do this one. So, but
okay, here we go. I got it right here.
Randy did stippling, but now he's gotten the scratch board, and so Brock will put up a picture.
Yeah,
it's not wrestling related.
No, but it's just a beautiful piece of art. Whenever Mike posted this, it was smaller. I'm like, that's a photograph.
Yeah,
it's not until you make it bigger that you can tell. Like it's
yeah,
it's some kind of artwork. But I would have never guessed it's a scratch board.
Yeah, that started out as just a blank sheet of a blank sheet, and he slowly scratched away to the white underneath.
That's insane.
So I want to get him to do a wrestler like that.
Can you imagine how tedious that has to be? There's no room for error. Like when you're drawing on paper, you can erase. But when you're like chipping away at something, like you don't get a chance to make a mistake. So that's insane how awesome that looks. Like it's reflection and all that. Like, come on, man. I wish I had 1/100th of that drawing ability.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really, really cool.
And if Kevin Butcher ever gave us permission, we could show the new Chaos picture.
Is that scratch board too?
No.
Okay.
It's Randy doing colored pencils or pencil crayon, or I'm not too sure the level he uses on that.
Okay.
The new artwork is bang on.
Mm-hmm.
I got to pick that up from him. I'll do it next month.
Yeah, he's a talented dude for sure.
I'm trying to get him to do some of those. But yeah, he could never do a set because it'd take him a year to do all 12 pictures.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
I remember when he did Core and Walter for me. Brian Bendis was at the convention that year.
Mm-hmm.
Brian pulls me aside. He goes, "Hey, can your friend draw comics? If not, I can get him a job at Marvel if he wants to." I'm like, "Hey, I can ask him."
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, Randy, you want to work at Marvel Comics?" And he's like, "No." Like, you know how long it takes me to draw stuff?
Deadlines are not a friend of his, I'm sure, with that kind of detail.
But yeah, Darkos, I didn't have many big story arcs for him. He was just kind of a background guy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until he became the wrestler / manager.
Yeah. That's kind of how I played him too, because he was kind of like that dark guy that was just like moving the pieces behind the scenes.
Yeah. Except with him, I think I did give him an outside interference. I think I allowed him one.
Okay.
Just because it looks like he could handle himself.
Yeah, he's in a suit of armor too, so
he wasn't a 70-year-old man hanging outside the ring.
Yeah.
In my head, Solaris was a 70-year-old man.
Well, he's probably even older than that.
Yeah. Probably 700 years old if he's immortal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what I find interesting about these guys is they both have a distractor rating of 5, which is the minimum.
Yeah, they weren't good managers.
No.
And now people are at like 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 7 or 8 seems to be standard now.
Yeah, but back then it was 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone had 5 or 6, and Renard Beguile had a 7.
Mm-hmm, because he was the best. He was the Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
Of the GWF. I always pictured him as, at least. We'll talk about him more later, though.
Everyone was 5 or 6, 5 or 6, 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
But the Mass Assassins were always one of my favorite teams. I
For
like
sure.
them better than the Supreme Gods.
Oh yeah.
And they were just that perfect in the GWF. They were the perfect mid-level heel team.
What was cool about them too is they got all the guys who turned at first. Like they were turning the good guys, you know, who joined the Masked Assassins.
Well, yeah, Splatter was always a bad guy, and then you did have Pit Viper.
Mm-hmm.
The Demons of Hydra came out of nowhere, and Tom kind of laid the foundation that it was actually Genghis Khan and Mitsuko.
And it was 2 new guys.
And he had people reeled in. Like that was some good red herring on him.
Yeah, that was good.
And then it turns out that it was 2 different people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, hey, that was pretty cool then, because I remember I write on my cards, I got Genghis Khan, and I'm like, do I put Demon on him or Hydra on him?
Yeah, that's cool though. Like, got people talking for sure, because people still talk about it to this day, and that was like 20 years ago. So
yeah, there was a great game mechanic with those 2 as well. So if Darkos would have had a 6,
mm-hmm.
those guys could have really picked up.
Yeah, pulled that off a lot more.
Yeah, because you had to roll the distractor for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then a 5, like you said, they're just barely scraping by. Even Omega come in at a 6, so I can see.
Yeah. Well, 5 is what you give to anybody who is at ringside. I think that's how the new rules are written, at least. I think any ringside ally automatically has a distractor rating of 5 unless they have one printed on their card.
Yeah.
So these guys are just as good as like if I was hanging out at ringside with Thanos as his manager.
Yeah, it does make me laugh. But yeah, I didn't give him a whole lot of personality to start off with. He was just kind of a like I said, he was, even when I had like the launch pad and different talk shows, I didn't make him do a lot of the talking.
Yeah.
I just had him hang out in the background, and they would always say, Darkos take care of this, Darkos is taking care of that. And that's the way he was. I kept him completely mysterious.
That's a cool way to play him.
I know in the books, Tom had him, the managers are always your mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
For the guys who can't talk, they give him a manager. But for me, I did it completely reversed.
Mm-hmm.
He was the manager. He was like the bodyguard, you see that he was like Mr. Hughes, doesn't talk, he's just intimidating in the background. But he was the manager that was just hanging in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And all the wrestlers still went, well, everything deferred through him.
Yeah.
So he was the boss because he got all the respect from his guys.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't feel the need to talk to the fans or to, Johnny Rocket or Quiltar or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
He always viewed them as beneath.
Yeah. I like that.
That's why I ran him.
Cool. Darkos.
There's not much we can change on the cards other than, hey, let's give him a back.
Yeah. Or up their distractor ratings, I guess. But I don't think
one thing we can do to him, up it to a 6.
Yeah. But now they have backs, so the new card, I won't show them because they're still available for purchase. But the reimagined cards do have backs. I'll show it real quick. There they are. Those are now still available for purchase, so I don't want to spoil anything there.
I might have to buy a Darkos Reimagined card.
Mm-hmm. Their Imagine sets are great. I wish they were coming out quicker, but they put out so much stuff anymore that I can imagine that that's probably not a high priority.
Well, I got all the black and white sets up to 2109, so 2110 Reimagined.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, those are probably still available.
Oh yeah,
2110 and up. I would think. I would hope.
Yeah. Let's get on to our topic here.
Okay. Booking styles.
Booking styles. Now I run 6 feds.
Wow. Wow. I barely have time to run the one bootleg fed. And the only reason I'm still consistent on that is because I stream it. And that's the reason why I stream it, because otherwise I would not be able to keep up with it.
No, I run my GWF, my NGA, which is my mid fed, my CPC, which is my bottom tier, and then I run my women's fed.
Okay.
And then I run my Legends. And then I haven't started it, but it's next. It's my next, and that'll be my Hollywood set from Grant.
Hollywood. All right.
I am pumped to run this because I don't know who anybody is. I've looked online. You know, I've checked the stuff online, but I don't know who these guys are. I've never seen them wrestle, and I don't know if I want to because I don't want
to influence the booking.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the Fight app in Canada? FITE.
Yeah,
all their stuff's on there.
I don't buy it. Yeah, it has. It's a pay channel.
Okay, it's free here. Like there's stuff you have to pay for on it, like pay-per-views and stuff like that. And some territories make you pay, but I think Championship Wrestling from Hollywood's free on there. Has their whole back catalog too.
No, we have sports packages up here. Like it's funny when I had the sports package. So for me to purchase the NHL network 1 year, where I got every NHL game out there.
Yeah.
Was $150 a year.
That's not horrible.
No, but get this, for $175 a year, I could get this entire sports package, which included all of Major League Baseball.
Okay.
All of the NFL, all of NBA, all of Premier League Soccer, all F1, all WNBA, and all NASCAR.
Okay.
So for an extra $25,
why not? Even if you don't watch any of it,
you know, I got the NFL and you divide it up, so it was like, you know, $4 a year was the NFL package.
Yeah.
But you know, the NHL in Canada, NHL is so big. The NHL package cost me $150 a year, but I could have the NFL package for $4.
Why not at that point?
So literally, that's what I did. I'm like, yeah, for an extra $25, $2 a month.
Yeah,
I'll take everything.
It's worth it.
And the thing that I ended up watching the most was NASCAR.
Really?
I don't like NASCAR. I'm not a big fan of it. But what it was is you could watch the you know, the race, but I had like 8 different channels for the same race. But then I could tune into Jeff Gordon, and they had a camera that just followed his car. And then they had it's like he was wearing a GoPro on his head, so I could see out his screen.
Okay.
So if he turned his head, I could see that. And then they had a camera that on his dash, so I could see his speed, his RPMs, and everything.
That's kind of cool.
And then they had a camera out the back, so you could see who's approaching them and how they're driving.
Okay.
So I'm like, this is just awesome. Like when you see all that and what goes into driving, I'm like, I started watching a lot of NASCAR.
Nice. Yeah, I can never get into it, but I never watched that kind of broadcast though, so maybe that's what I need.
Yeah. But for all of them, when I book for my big 3 feds, how I book is I do I storyboard for an entire year.
Okay.
So I have an end game, and I try to get everybody to that end game and kind of weave
Mm-hmm.
all their stories. And but because guys move up and down, it kind of throws a wrench. But I can still kind of figure out who's coming up and who's staying.
Yeah.
And that's the way I like it. It's added some excitement for me, because before
Mm-hmm.
I could literally, and I would have my years booked out 4 or 5 years in advance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now I'm going to be introducing the people, so I could sometimes build storylines years in advance. And I did that a couple times, like Pegasus, when I introduced him and I knew he was going to get an update.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he retired for
Okay.
2 years ahead of his update,
Uh-huh.
because he just couldn't win. His first card just wasn't that good for me,
Yeah, yeah.
and he just came out the one time he's a heel, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm retiring." And then 2 years later, when his update comes, I have him, run to the ring to save Star Warrior,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like, "That's Pegasus! Oh my god!"
Yeah.
But
That,
I could do something like that.
mm-hmm. That's one big advantage to being behind.
Yep, is I can see, see what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and because I run my own Fed, I don't follow the storylines. I can do things like, and I almost did the same thing with Vengeance. I had
Mm-hmm.
Vengeance so evil that the gladiators kind of went, we're pulling him back for a bit. We got to calm him down, because I had him getting disqualified constantly, and every
Yeah.
time he DQ'd, I would make him attack the wrestler viciously and injure him for 1 to 6 dice,
Mm-hmm.
1 to 6 days depending on the dice.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was always just, he was a complete madman.
Mm-hmm.
So I had them pull him back, like, when Mayhem's looking at somebody going, dude.
Chill out. Yeah, that's cool.
And so, same thing. I had him disappear for a year, and then when I brought him back, I made him much more cunning. So he wasn't as completely, batshit insane.
Mm-hmm.
So now I made him more calculated.
Okay.
So
Because he learned that if he goes unhinged, he's going to get benched again.
yeah. And so, I could do that. So I could create completely different storylines, and being behind, but storyboarding out on where I want to put guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I do write them out. I write out their feuds on, where I want these feuds set.
Yeah.
And that's how I booked them.
That's cool. I've started doing that recently on my streaming fed, because I have to try and keep it interesting for viewers.
Yeah.
Which is difficult, especially when the dice don't cooperate and you try and set some things up and your plans get foiled week in and week out.
With Bruce.
With Bruce. That's stinking Bruce. It's supposed to be nothing but a jabroni. Beats my #1 contender for the title. 2 weeks before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, but you can, and I was showing you can work all that into storylines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I was watching your feed, I'm like, this happens. No, do this. Especially with when you had Black and Blue there.
Yeah.
And something and the one guy got hurt, and I'm like, hey, this is the perfect time to introduce Agent Orange.
I wasn't ready, but I did it.
Yeah.
It worked out pretty well. Like he was a bust though. He went 0-4 in his first 4 matches. He's on a little bit of a roll now though. But yeah, it's fun because I'm trying to plan like the big thing that happens each month.
Yeah.
Ahead of time. Like I think I have everything through August planned out. And then I'm trying to, like, instead of focusing more on what character I want to put in a position, I now have like a committee of characters that, okay, we'll see what happens when we play these out, and then this character will come out on top and be my guy for that storyline. I have the storyline plan, but the player is not necessarily set in stone.
And see, when I book, I'll take probably about 4 characters, and I'll give them a hard character push.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else still gets their storylines, but these 4 guys are getting the big, all the vignettes and all the
Right.
interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and different arcs. Like with Mandrel, I wanted him to make a huge splash in my Fed.
Yeah.
And so you try to do different things. You know, you don't want to keep doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's a bad guy. He does this to get this position.
Yeah.
But because I work wrestlers up through a ranking system, so they got to get points before they get ranked. So, you know, if you're not winning matches, you're not getting title shots.
Right. Right.
So, you know, a way for me to break my own rules is, you know, Wolf was the Intergalaxian champion. I had this guy come out. No one knows who he was. He races to the ring and he, you know, does his volcanics stunner. You know, stuns Wolf, just beats the living tar out of him.
Yeah.
And then leaves. Just Wolf's, you know, pretty much unconscious in the ring, and then Mandrill appears on that card, you know, on the Johnny Rocket show the next night, you know, going, Wolf, you want me, you know, put your title up to the line, you know, put your title on the line, and you know, you can have your revenge on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I went, you know, that's a perfect way to introduce that feud.
Yeah.
And I've never done it before, and I haven't done it since.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a one-off for me.
Yeah.
And you know, Mandrill beat Wolf for the title. So Mandrill's first ever match, he wins. He becomes basically the #1 contender to the world title.
Right. Right. And that's what we had talked about this before. Like, don't let stats get in the way of telling a good story.
Yeah.
Which I think is a trap I've fallen into a lot. But you gotta break those rules sometimes to tell the story, which I think that's a great example of.
Yeah, but that's what I do. I'll pick 3 or 4 guys, and I don't pick the same guy every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try to give different people times to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's somebody like Alpha Force, for me, Alpha Force, he's the Bob Backlund of wrestling. He is so boring. I've never found him interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you try to give him pushes. And I've tried to come up with story arcs for him.
The uncool Star Warrior.
Yeah, but he just doesn't work it.
Yeah. Yep. Couldn't get behind him either. I tried to. Like, I tried pushing him pretty hard when he first debuted, and
the double +5 finisher was insane.
Yeah, which is the less cool version of Star Warrior, though.
Who aged much quicker.
Yes. Yeah, it is what it is.
And then with my Legends Fed, and I always wondered how I'd rotate guys in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was listening to somebody on, and I can't remember who it is. I was listening to Roll Up, and they talked about how their Legends Fed, and they have like a 40-man Fed, and the bottom 20 guys get booted.
Okay. And
they introduce 20 new guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I like that. I'm going to now use that, but I'm not taking 20. I'm going to take 12.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, half your Fed getting booted every once in a while is not.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the bottom 3 tag teams and the bottom 6 wrestlers.
Okay.
They're gone, and introduce, 12 new guys.
Yeah, because the Legends roster is huge now.
Yeah.
And there's so many good guys too. Like you can run so many cool Legends Feds now. You would almost need multiple Legends Feds.
Oh yeah,
there's so many good
cards. I thought of doing that. At one point I had it broken up where NWA, AWA, WWF, and then Indies.
Yeah,
and the Indies I was just going to run under the Ring of Honor banner.
Okay.
I'm like, no, screw it. One Fed, NWA. that's the granddaddy.
You can even set up a territory system though.
Yeah, I don't want that many.
One world champion.
And I'm gonna run guys through it. So even Ring of Honor guys are gonna possibly be thrown into the NWA. Sure, they're not gonna, but if they can upset somebody, great.
Yeah.
If not, they're the feeder guys to the tougher guys, and then they're out the door.
Mm-hmm. Some of those cards are pretty tough.
Yep.
Not a lot of them, but some of them are.
Oh yeah, like even some of these guys, like my current U.S. champion is Dick Hutton.
Mm-hmm.
His card's not that great, but I don't know. He wins matches.
The
my
dice
heavyweight
like him.
champion is Ted DiBiase.
Wow. Which version?
The $1 Million Man version.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. I'm shocked too.
That's cool though. I like the $1 Million Man.
And
See,
then
that's what's so great. Like the game is a complete shoot.
my
Like
tag champs are Snuka and Bundy.
uh-huh. That's a cool tag team. What do you call them?
I think they teamed up in Mid-Atlantic or something like that at one point.
Okay.
I can't remember 100%. Or I think I saw them as a one-off on a tag team one time, and I'm like, oh, they're a tag team for me now because I only had so many legends. Now I got more.
Yeah.
And then when I run my my Hollywood Fed,
there's a lot of tag teams in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna limit it probably to about 30 guys. I'm just gonna keep this one small, and then just rotate them in.
It's pretty easy to tell which ones are tag teams too.
Yeah, I managed to figure that out because luckily they all dress the same.
Yes, for sure.
And I'm gonna have the because I've looked up their titles, so I'm just gonna have a tag title and their heavyweight title and their minor level title. I can't remember the name.
The heritage title, I think.
Could be. I honestly can't. I have only looked it up once.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm gonna run it. I'm just gonna keep it small.
You'll have fun with that.
Run 5 or 6 cards a year. I'll do the same thing I do now. All my years are 5 cards, little mini pay-per-view, 5 cards, little mini pay-per-view, 5 cards, little mini pay-per-view.
Yeah, we'll talk about how I run my NDW stream fed. It's running in real time. So there's a Friday show, a Saturday show, and a monthly pay-per-view on the last Sunday of the month. So it ends up being like 126 cards a year. They're all 6 matches. It is, but I'm having fun with it.
And are you keeping 1-loss records?
Yes, but I couldn't tell you any of them right now.
You should show that on one of your feeds.
I need to. I was trying to make like a cool graphic for it, like show win percentage and all that stuff, because I have it all in a spreadsheet. Just to, because the next month, well, by the time this airs, this will have already happened. It's the Gary Atkinson Memorial Tournament. And it was always 8 guys. So I'm going to do a full 32-person tournament this time, just to, make it last throughout the entire month. And maybe do the Final 4 at the pay-per-view. See how that goes.
That can be.
Have enough guys. So see how that goes.
I'm thinking I'm going to introduce a new pay-per-view to my Fed. Haven't decided on a name yet, but I'm just going to call it Last Chance.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the bottom 8 wrestlers from the GWF, the bottom 8 wrestlers from the NGA, and put them in a tournament. And I'm going to do the same with the tag team. I'm going to take bottom 4 tag teams, so they get put into a tournament. And this will help them. If you don't get points, well, you're going down.
Yeah.
So basically, if you get knocked out in the first round, you're going to go from GWF to NGA, and if you're an NGA bottom guy, you're going down to the CPC.
Okay.
So I'm just going to call it the last chance, probably the last chance tournament.
I like that.
I hope the guys, get points to bump themselves up.
All right. I'll give a spoiler for my stream. My August idea was to introduce a new title, either call it the streaming title or something like that.
The Internet Championship.
I had an Internet Championship at one time, but I was going to do all the good guys in one draw pile and all the bad guys in another draw pile, pull tag teams out of each, put them all into a tournament. Not everybody will get into it. Like I'll do like 16 guys, like 8 teams on, 8 teams. And then the winning team will fight each other for that title. So you have to work together until the end. And then if you win the tag tournament, then you are the 2 contenders for this brand new title.
That's kind of what I do for my Blood Bowl tournament.
Cool. I know WCW did something like that in the early 90s, I think.
Yeah, that's where I got the idea from.
Was it Lethal Lottery? I think it was called.
I do not remember the name of it, but
Yeah.
I've come up with some neat tag teams over the years. Like I told you, the one year I had Mayhem and Lightning team up,
Hmm.
and I called them Electric Mayhem,
Yeah.
right out of the Muppets.
Yeah.
I had Chaos and Darkos, when
Nice.
Darkos was a wrestler, win it and become the GWF tag champs, because Darkos could put you down 3 times.
Hmm.
So Chaos would start the match, get on the second level, tag in Darkos. Darkos would drop somebody,
Then you get in with the 3 finishers.
tag in with Chaos, and I think they held on to it for 10 cards or 12 cards.
That's cool.
And I'm just trying to picture Chaos just dragging this guy around,
Yeah.
being not happy.
Yeah, I was gonna play it too. Like they can't tag out at all the first match together. And then the second round, they'll be able to tag out on a 4. And if they make it to the finals, then they'll be able to tag out on a 6.
Yeah, for me, they could only tag out on a 4. Next round was a 5, and then a 6.
Okay.
And then and I've only had it happen once, and I think War ended up as a tag team, just because it's completely random.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, because what I would actually do is I would take all 32 wrestlers and
Mhm.
write their names out, cut them up, and put them into a hat, and that's how I did it.
Yeah.
So, Mace. Oh, his partner Dregs.
That worked out. Yeah, I think I'm gonna separate mine heroes and villains. Not that that's really a big predominant. It's hard to tell who's the heroes and villains sometimes in NDW because they all kind of are villains. But I'm gonna make it so there's a face pile and a heel pile, so there's just those interesting matchups. So maybe like if like worst enemies, feuding enemies end up teaming together, I might make it so they can't ever tag out until the finals or something like that.
I had something along that lines, and yeah, I worked that into the storyline.
Hmm.
I think and I can't remember who it was. I think it was. Oh no, it wasn't a top tag. It was Vengeance teamed up with Iron Man.
Okay.
So it's when the Anti Men were taking on the Gladiators,
Hmm.
because I had that feud run forever.
Yeah.
And so they weren't in direct feud, but they were feud adjacent.
Yeah. Opposing teams.
And I made it so they didn't move up.
Mhm.
They just stayed 4.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes total sense. But like I don't know, maybe the idea that if they win this tournament, they get a shot at becoming this new champion might entice them to work together a little bit.
That's the thing. You kind of got to book on the fly at times.
Hmm.
Like I had, and this tournament has come in handy for me. Like I had Thantos and Galactic Punisher win the tournament and went on to win the tag titles, and they held on to it for like 12 cards.
That's cool.
And then when Galactic Punisher became Vigilante, I took it all the way back because Thantos was constantly in his ear. This is what you want to do. This is where you got to be.
Yeah.
You want to win the gold? You got to join my camp.
Hmm.
And that's how I had him. I had him, when he turned, he, joined Thantos and his group.
Right. Then that makes perfect sense then, especially with the way that was set up.
And I hadn't even, and it's one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, he turns bad. How am I going to make him become a bad guy?
Hmm.
And I'm thinking about it because I booked so far in ahead, and I'm like, this is what's going to happen. Because 3 years ago,
Yeah, right.
they teamed up, and I'm going to work it all the way back.
That's why record keeping is important.
Yes. And I know, guys, I'm insane when it comes to my record keeping, and
Hmm.
I put all my matches in a 3-ring binder.
Hmm.
And then when I'm done, I literally put them on a bookshelf. And so I have every year.
Hmm.
I can go back and look, when were these guys champs, and and I kind of use a lot of that for my storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right now I have in my women's fed, the longest ever tag team title defenses were the Orient Express, which is for me Tachyon and Tiger Mask.
Mm-hmm.
But Cassandra and Anaxis are a surprisingly good tag team.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a few times.
And they're about to tie the record.
They're going to break it.
And it was funny because on their fifth defense, they had to face Tiger Mask and Tachyon. So if they beat them, the next one, the next match is they tie it. So it became a big storyline for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they didn't beat them. So Anaxis and Cassandra now tie, for the longest title defense. If they get one more, then they become the longest running tag team champions.
Nice.
And that's a storyline. I'm like, it just come out of the blue. And I'm like, I'm pushing it. But
Mm-hmm.
now they're going to have to get past Rhea and Annabelle.
Oh, boy.
They're the only undefeated tag team. I'm like, whoo.
Have them cheat.
And Cassandra and Anaxis have only lost once. So it's two Tiger Mask and Tachyon in my Queen's Cup, which is a tag tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all, the storylines can present themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I kind of run my women's fed, is I run it more open and fluid.
Yeah.
I let the matches form themselves instead of booking far off in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird that I'm trying to run 3 or 4 different booking styles.
Yeah.
Just
and
so
then they're all kind of intertwined together too.
Yeah, but just so I can experiment with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I had time to run multiple feds. I'd really like to do that. It's tough. It's tough to do anything right now.
Well, you don't have to run NDW every time. You could.
Yeah, that's true.
You could do what Grant does and run his, run your GWF fed and,
Mm-hmm.
or a random bootleg fed or.
Yeah, there's so much I want to do. I want to do a reboot. I want to do a random bootleg. I want to do like a Legends, and I wanted to do Future Endeavored Wrestling, which was all the guys that WWE fired who have cards.
The Future Endeavored promotion.
Yeah, this Future Endeavored Wrestling.
I think they just call that
the few.
AEW now.
Yeah, it's just called AEW now, though. You're correct. 100% correct. You get a debut, and you get a debut, and you get a debut. What do we do after that? I don't know. But you got your debut.
Yeah, like I just dug this card out. I cannot remember, and I'm going to give Kevin Butcher credit again. Somebody gave me this card. It's Octagon.
Uh-huh.
But it's his reworked back.
Okay.
So where he's got the double Ancient Mysteries +1. So he's got.
Okay.
But it doesn't have that Mark Ashby looking Octagon. That had the blue card, that had the blue ink.
Yeah, yeah.
So somebody put this out, and I can't remember even who gave it to me. But I'm gonna. He's gonna come back. So he's gonna come back in 2106.
Mm-hmm.
And I have what's called a legacy rule. So it allows me to, guys like Spike when he comes back in 2106. And if you were in the GWF or one of those promotions, you can pick. Yeah, I'm coming back here. So it just makes for a more open storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And so Octagon's going to come back and tag team up with Lance Atlas because he's kind of stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy. He can't get any traction, so he's going to get the spotlight put on him next year.
Cool.
And he's going to get help with Octagon, and they're going to do the Supreme Gods and see if they can, get some traction and work as a tag team and get up back into the GWF.
Cool. They'll do it.
That's what I said. It's just some different fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's no wrong way to do it.
No. And I know guys that literally just play cards. Like
Mhm.
they don't do any big story arcs.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is my year. These guys are fighting, and
Mhm.
that's how my buddy Rob did it. He had no
Yeah.
story. He would just make cards and frustrate me to no end.
I fall into that every once in a while, especially depending on when I get time to put stuff together for stream. I've gotten better at doing it like earlier in the week and stuff like that. And I've started like working on it on lunch breaks and stuff like that when I have less distractions and things. And
Yeah.
I'm finding it's a lot better instead of like, oh, Friday night, I'm done with work for the week. Let me just start planning for the stream on Sunday. Because I do all I make graphic cards for all the matches and stuff, so it's a lot of work. So I have to make sure that I don't let that stuff get in the way of the story. Story needs to come first.
Yeah, for me, I do set time aside for the GWF. Like I go through, I make sure we get our topics, I make sure we get our wrestlers. I try to book our guests.
Yeah.
I get all that set up first, and then I'm like, okay, now that I don't got that taken care of, now time to do GWF, because I don't want to fall behind in what we do.
Mm-hmm. We got a pretty good cushion though.
No, yeah, that's one thing we have.
A peek behind the curtain.
Oh yeah, we mentioned that we book literally a month ahead.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's good too, because you don't want to have the issues that Roll Up has, where there's no mic.
Right. If we didn't have a
mic,
mic, we wouldn't be able to have a show.
Yeah, because he's busy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a busy guy, so
yeah,
they got to keep it going. But
right, and they have to be current. They can't do what we do.
Yeah,
they drop the news.
They drop the news on what's going out.
Exactly.
We should probably wrap this up.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and hanging out with us. Please look at the description below. We have a list of different things that our friends and other members of the Filsinger Games community are doing. So let's just run through those real quick. We have the Roll Up podcast, which is the official podcast of Filsinger Games. We have the Filsinger Games fan cast from Grant, the Legends team's Uncharted Territory, Dizzy Dice from Lee Longpre, and on YouTube, we have GWF Promoter, also from Grant. Dave Little's Fed is on there, After Further Review. And I have myself on Twitch. GWF Promoter is also on Twitch, and Sergeant Fragamal. And I think that's everybody. Yeah, take a minute and check out some of these other Filsinger Games media creations, and you might find something else that you enjoy. It's like I keep saying, the more people we get aware of this game, the more fun we'll all have together.
Yeah, like I try to check out some. I can't listen to everything and watch everything that's out there, but just to pop in and do a spot view.
Yeah, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, just to mix things up, and I checked out David Little's Heartland, and I haven't listened to Lee's podcast yet. But it's on my rotation, where I'll probably just pop in and listen to.
And he's consistent. He posts often. Yeah, he's good.
Uncharted Territories, I listen to them most of the time. They got episodes where they talk about the old COTG newsletters.
Yeah.
Those are hilarious, because it's just like a stroll down memory lane.
That was all before my time.
1987.
Yeah, I was 5.
So those are the fun things. And Grant's, I've watched some of Grant's stuff on YouTube, and and I noticed that our views are slowly going up, and it's weird, because number one's at like 121 views, and I'm like, what? And then number two's at like 60.
Yeah. We just need more Jeff Manning, I think, is what the answer is.
Yeah. Jeff Manning got us our biggest 1 week boost ever at like 52 views in a week.
Yep. Whoever that is.
Yeah. So we need to find more of Jeff Manning.
Yep. And on that note, we will see you all next time.
Night, everyone.
Later.